Hello, everyone. William Shatner, the legendary face of Star Trek, the man who embodied the fearless Captain James T. Kirk for generations of fans, has finally broken his silence about what really went on behind the scenes of one of television's most groundbreaking shows. And the truth, as it turns out, is far more complicated, messy, and human than the polished legacy Hollywood has sold us for decades. The world has always seen Star Trek as a symbol of unity, exploration, and hope for the future. A show that dared to imagine a time when humanity had outgrown prejudice, greed, and division. But behind the bridge of the USS Enterprise, tensions, egos, and creative battles threatened to destroy that dream from within. Shatner, now in his 90s and reflecting on his long career, has begun to tell his story more openly, revealing decades of strained relationships, miscommunications, jealousy, and painful misunderstandings that shaped not only the show, but his life. It all began in the mid-1960s when Star Trek first launched on NBC, a risky science fiction experiment created by Gene Roddenberry at a time when the genre was considered niche and childish. For Shatner, the role of Captain Kirk was a dream come true, a chance to play a charismatic, fearless leader exploring the unknown. But what he didn't realize was that he was stepping into a cultural phenomenon that would consume his identity and test every relationship he had. According to Shatner, the earliest days of filming were exciting yet chaotic. The budget was small, the schedule brutal, and the special effects groundbreaking for their time, but often unreliable. The cast, which included Leonard Nimoy as Spock, DeForest Kelley as Dr. McCoy, Nichelle Nichols as Uhura, George Takei as Sulu, James Doohan as Scotty, and Walter Koenig as Chekhov, quickly bonded over their shared passion for the show's message. But it didn't take long for tension to creep in. Shatner was the star, the center of attention, and the scripts often revolved around Captain Kirk's heroics, leaving other cast members feeling sidelined. Over the years, several of his co-stars accused him of hogging the spotlight and being difficult to work with. In early interviews, George Takei and James Doohan hinted that Shatner could be egocentric and unaware of others' contributions, while Shatner himself admitted he was so focused on doing his job that he didn't always see the resentment building around him. He once said, "I was the captain. Everything went through me. I didn't realize how much that rubbed people the wrong way until it was too late." But the most talked about tension was between Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, the beloved Spock to his Kirk. For decades, fans wondered whether the friendship they saw on screen was real or merely professional. Shatner has finally confessed that it was both, a bond built on mutual respect, yet strained by creative rivalry. In his memoirs and interviews, he described their relationship as complex, saying that while they admired each other's talent, there was a constant undercurrent of competition. Nimoy's growing popularity, especially as the stoic, logical Vulcan, sometimes made Shatner insecure, as fans and critics began to praise Spock as the heart of the show. "I was the captain, but Leonard was the soul," Shatner admitted. That dynamic mirrored their on-screen chemistry. Two men with completely different philosophies, bound by duty but divided by ego. The tragedy, Shatner has said, is that he didn't realize how much he valued Nimoy's friendship until it was gone. In his later years, Shatner revealed that their relationship had broken down before Nimoy's death in 2015, over a misunderstanding about a documentary Shatner was filming. Shatner said he tried to mend things, but was never given the chance, calling it one of the greatest regrets of his life. Beyond personal tensions, Shatner also revealed the enormous pressure the cast faced from NBC and the studio. The show was ahead of its time, tackling issues like racism, war, and morality through allegory, but not everyone in power believed in that vision. Episodes like Plato's Stepchildren, which featured one of television's first interracial kisses between Shatner and Nichelle Nichols, caused network panic. Shatner recalled how they were told to shoot alternate versions without the kiss, but he deliberately ruined the takes so that the network had no choice but to air the original. "We knew what we were doing mattered," he said. "It wasn't just television, it was a statement." But while moments like that would later be celebrated, at the time, they put the cast under immense scrutiny. NBC executives were constantly threatening cancellation, and the crew often worked with limited sets, reused props, and little how the show's survival felt like a battle, one that ultimately ended when NBC canceled it after just 3 seasons, unaware that it was about to become one of the most beloved franchises in history. In the years that followed, Star Trek's cult following exploded through reruns and conventions. Shatner suddenly found himself at the center of a growing phenomenon, worshipped by fans but haunted by the ghost of his own reputation. He became Captain Kirk in the eyes of the world, but that success came with a cost. His fellow actors, many of whom struggled to find work after the show ended, often resented how Shatner seemed to thrive. He threw himself into new projects, from T.J. Hooker to Boston Legal, but Star Trek followed him everywhere. When the franchise was revived for films, the cast reunited, but the old wounds resurfaced. Shatner admitted that while filming Star Trek, the motion picture, and later sequels, there were still tensions about screen time, pay, and leadership on set. He claimed that while the public saw unity, there were many days of cold shoulders and quiet resentment. Yet, he never blamed his co-stars outright. Instead, he called it a family with too much love and too little communication. What surprised many fans was Shatner's honesty about his own shortcomings. In recent years, he has reflected with remarkable humility, acknowledging that he often came across as arrogant without realizing it. "I wasn't trying to be difficult," he explained. "I just cared too much. I wanted everything to be perfect. But I see now that perfection isn't the same as kindness." He also revealed that fame had taken a personal toll. His marriages suffered, his friendships strained, and for years he struggled to separate himself from Captain Kirk's shadow. He once said, "It's hard to be human when everyone sees you as a legend." That realization pushed him to reconnect with the humanity that Star Trek itself had always preached: compassion, curiosity, and forgiveness. But not all of Shatner's revelations were dark. He shared touching memories, too. How Nichelle Nichols inspired him with her courage, how DeForest Kelley's humor kept everyone grounded, and how the cast's shared struggles created a bond that, even if fractured, could never be erased. He also spoke about how Star Trek changed his worldview. "The show taught me empathy," he said. "It taught me that leadership isn't about control, it's about trust." When asked what he'd say to his old castmates if he could, he said softly, "Thank you." And "I'm sorry," those words, simple but heartfelt, seemed to sum up a lifetime of lessons learned too late. Today, as William Shatner continues to reflect on his extraordinary journey, from a struggling Canadian actor to an icon who literally traveled to space at age 90, he has made peace with the ghosts of the Star Trek set. He recognizes now that the magic of the show came because of the tension, not in spite of it. The friction, the rivalries, the late nights, the constant uncertainty, all of it gave Star Trek its heart. It was a group of flawed, passionate people trying to create something meaningful in a world that didn't always understand them. And in the end, they did. Shatner's recent confessions reveal not just the truth about what happened behind the cameras, but the deeper truth about life itself. That creation is messy, that egos clash, and that greatness often comes at a cost. So, when William Shatner finally says what really happened on the Star Trek set, he isn't exposing scandal. He's revealing humanity. The story of Star Trek isn't just about voyages to distant galaxies. It's about imperfect people striving for something bigger than themselves. It's about forgiveness, growth, and the enduring power of storytelling. And as Shatner himself has come to realize, maybe that was the point all along. Because even in the chaos, even in the heartbreak, Star Trek did what it set out to do. It gave us hope, and it turned a group of ordinary actors into eternal legends, sailing forever among the stars. Thanks for watching.